Everybody. I hope everyone enjoyed the little musical interlude from Bob Marley and the Wailers and Miles Davis. And thanks again to Carl Villacoba at Monmouth for putting those lovely little interludes together for us. So we're now going to take a closer look at new state level policies and initiatives, and we're going to have a Q&A session at the end after all of the speakers go. So please be entering your questions into the Q&A box as you listen to our next speakers. So we're going to have coming up next, Donna Morrow. Donna is Program Manager of the Chesapeake and Coastal Service at the Maryland Department of Natural Resources, and she's a much appreciated member of our Mid-Atlantic Marine Debris Work Group, and she's going to tell us about Maryland's boat shrink wrap recycling program. She has been with Maryland DNR since 1998, and she's director of the Office of Marine and Coastal Stewardship, where she oversees the Maryland Clean Marina Initiative and Maryland's Clean Vessel Act grant program. And she's been a member of the work group, our work group, since 2017. But before coming to DNR, Donna worked extensively in the boating industry and maintains a Coast Guard captain's license, very impressive. And she holds a bachelor's in sociology with a concentration in environmental studies from Rollins College in Florida, and lives in Annapolis with her husband, Joe, and enjoys boating with her Sailor Power every week. Lucky dog. So thanks for joining us, Donna. And we're going to let you share your screen and advance your slides. So thanks so much for doing this today.
Thank you for having me. I hope you can hear me all right.
Yep, you sound great.
Okay, I am going to go ahead and do the dreaded sharing of screen. You'll bear with me for just a moment.
Sure.
There we go. Sorry.
No worries. We've been lucky so far with.
Yeah, it's always the right way, right? No worries, we'll get there. It should be coming along here. System preferences, share screen, come on. Okay, I think other people may still have a screen share if possible.
There we go. Now, can you try it?
Yeah. Don't know why it is not working. I apologize. Share sound, desktop 1, and sharing. It's asking for system preferences. I don't know if that tells our technology folks anything, but in any case, I can certainly.
I think what we might
have now
is pull up your slides and we'll run them for you, and we're doing that right now.
Okay, appreciate that.
Right. Thank goodness we have backup slides.
That's why we have, belts and suspenders, as they say.
That's right. And
sorry about that. I don't know why.
We'll let you know when we start seeing it.
Okay. Well, in any case, I can certainly start talking a little bit just for the essence of time, and that is to say that the plenary folks this morning did a great job of sort of teeing up the really large nature of the problem of marine debris. And I'm here just to talk about one little piece of the problem. And I don't know if you've ever heard the old saying, how do you eat an elephant? And the answer is one bite at a time. So thank you. There we go. There's a slide.
You're all set. There you go, Donna.
Great.
Thanks,
Thank you so much, technical people.
Thanks, tech team at Longwood.
Yes, yay. But in any case, one bite at a time. So this is sort of an example of that. The next slide. And sort of before I get right into it, I did want to at least give some shout out to all the great partners we have in the state of Maryland. This is some of the existing efforts we have. Lots of cleanup and monitoring teams in the state, but also a number of policies that are aimed at reductions as well. So we recently have a state foam ban, the polystyrene foam ban bill, and a balloon release bill as well in Maryland that we're really excited about and happy to be kind of in the trend of all of our partners. Next slide. Thank you. So boat shrink wrap or marine shrink wrap, for anyone who's not familiar with this, boats in the winter in this part of the country and in you know, most of our areas to our north and west are wrapped up each winter to protect them from the elements. There are thousands and thousands of boats that get wrapped. They are this practice has become increasingly popular over the years. And the wrap is installed both by boatyard staff and by some mobile marine contractors who will go around and put it on for people. Next slide. Thank you. And the issue is that it generates just loads and loads of plastic waste. It all goes on in the fall or the winter, and then it comes off in the spring all at once in a short amount of time. It creates a large burden for the boatyards that are storing these boats, and those mobile contractors who may have installed it that are not part of the boatyard really have no responsibility to come back and get it. And municipal recycling efforts have not been particularly successful on this particular product, and we'll talk about why in just a moment. Next, please. So this is sort of an example of what we have got going on as a partnership between the Marine Trades Association of Maryland, which represents the boatyards and marinas. So this is really an industry-led effort. And Chesapeake Materials, who is our partner and helps us find recycling for the material, and then the Clean Marina program, which is housed at DNR. Next, please. Thank you. So some of the logistics of how this program will work is that we can't just have it any old way. We have to control the product. It has to be kept nice and clean. So we sell the marinas bags for $15 a piece that they then, when the boat wrap is removed, they put the wrap into that bag and store it. And then we know that that wrap has been paid for, or that collection has been paid for. And it's very important to keep all this wrap pure and clean. When it's put onto a boat, there may be zippers and doors and vents and things that have to be removed. So the bagging of the wrap also helps to ensure that it's been removed properly. Next, please. And if you can continue to mouse forward through the bullets on this slide. So the wrap is removed and bagged, and then the boatyards have to store it until we come around and retrieve it from them. They generally get one pickup day. The dumps, in areas where we may have sold a lot of bags, we will place a dumpster. But in other locations where it may be sort of scattered around the area, we have to hire a truck and a two-man team to physically go collect that wrap and place it into the back of a truck and take it somewhere. The next step in the process is actually to get it baled. It's still not really ready to be recycled, but it gets baled and then it gets sold. And the bag sales help cover this transportation costs, the labor costs, the dumpsters. And we need a minimum of 30,000 pounds to fill a shipping container for getting it recycled. Next, please. So a lot of people wonder how it is that this gets done. And if we can show this short video, I'll see if our tech team can go ahead and hit it. It should just come on, and thank you. The sound is off on it if you want to turn that on, but here's the wrap that you're seeing has been removed from about a 35-foot boat. And he's now cutting out one of the doors that was in there. You can see him pulling that out. That's something that can't be recycled.
You ready to get the blood going?
Oh, okay. There's a little fun music that goes with it. But in any case, this video is exactly 2 minutes in length, but you can see it is sort of sped up. The actual time for this person to remove all the bands and straps and everything out of this is closer to 10 or 15 minutes in real time. And keep in mind, this wrap has also been cut off of the boat already. So the actual amount of time it takes to do this is closer to an hour per boat, a larger boat, 35 feet or so. Here he's getting the last of these straps and ties and all the strings in it that can't be recycled or that will bung up the works when it goes to the baling machine. And that is really important. It can't be baled if it fouls up the equipment. So now he's got most of the debris out of it, and he's going to start folding it. He's doing it on a gravel surface. And one thing we've learned is you can't have rocks in this when it gets to the recycler. So he's got to take some pains here to be pretty careful. Now he's getting the big plastic bag. You just saw him bring that out. That's where he'll put it, but he's got to bundle it in fairly tight, make it as nice and compact as he can. If you've ever gone camping, it's like rolling up your tent or something. And here he goes. Now he's making sure it'll fit and gets it in there. So that looks quick and easy, and it isn't terribly burdensome, but that is one boat. And most of these marinas have 150 boats. So thank you, tech team. If we can revert to the slide. So anyway, the problem is that it is a little labor intensive, not terribly so, but you can't really rely on your average boat owner to do it properly without someone showing them. So for that reason, we do have some education involved here. On the right is a picture of a decal or a sticker that we provide free to the boat yards and ask them to place on the outside of the boats that are wrapped in case someone decides to remove their own. And then there on the left is a nice sign that we have free that we give to these boat yards to show that, you know, these are the process steps involved in how to do it properly. Next slide, please. Thank you. As I mentioned, we aim for 30,000 pounds to fill one container. In the first 2 years of this model of our recycling program, we were short of that goal, and we actually had to buy some product to fill the container, which isn't ideal. But this year we were very pleased to see that we so far have 51,000 pounds collected. I think that means that we're making progress and people are getting used to it. It is an odd program. People had to get used to paying for it. Next slide. And these are just some of the challenges or lessons that we learned. Again, like I said, it would be nice if our municipalities were able to handle this for us. It is a complicated ask, but we know that clear instructions are really paramount to success. And that another thing we noted is the price for this commodity fluctuates continuously. It's made of oil, so it goes up and down, kind of the inverse of oil, crude oil. But the biggest challenge is that the wrap comes off at the boatyard's busiest time of year. So selling this idea of asking the boatyards to spare their staff to do intensive work at their busiest time of year that really isn't their core mission is very difficult. Final slide, please. I think that's it for me. I will say, I know we'll have Q&A at the end. I look forward to any of your questions about our program, but we do have a lot on our website as well, which is dnr.maryland.gov. So thank you.
Forgot to turn my mute button back up. Thank you so much, Donna. We really appreciate that. And it is fascinating to see that video of how they get that shrink wrap prepared and packaged up. So we appreciate seeing that. Thanks for all you're doing. And I think, you know, we in Virginia would love to try to copy that program through our Clean Marine program, and perhaps some of you might want to be able to do that too. So up next, we have Adam Schlachter. Adam is the Environmental Program Manager. We need to get to his slide. We're getting there, Adam. He's at the Delaware Department of Natural Resources and Environmental Control, must be a colleague of Donna's. And as part of the DENRAC Division of Waste and Hazardous Substances, Adam supports the waste management and reduction in Delaware, including permit compliance, technical assistance, regulation development, legislative reporting, and other activities related to solid waste facilities. And he manages Delaware's Universal Recycling Program, which provides outreach support and technical assistance to residents in the regulated community. And prior to joining DENRAC, he held various roles related to environmental education and outreach, and focused on recycling and sustainability. has a bachelor's in environmental economics from Cook College, which is at Rutgers, and he has a master's of science in sustainability management studies from New England College. And he lives in Felton, Delaware, where he tries not to yell at his neighbors to recycle right on pickup day. So thanks for being with us, Adam. And you can go ahead and start sharing your slides. Hopefully that'll work for you.
Yeah, I think it still has Katie's screen up, but thank you for that intro, Laura. I appreciate it. And just a shout out to Carrie St. Laurent and Avalon for the opportunity here, and appreciate it.
Great.
Here we
And
go.
here we go.
All
Okay.
right.
We're getting there. Great.
So as Laura mentioned, one of our primary objectives at DENREC is the state's universal recycling program. And so that sort of is a lot of the materials that have been mentioned throughout this that wind up in marine debris. So we're constantly searching for how do we get to our folks? How do we engage people? How do we get the right information? And more recently, we've developed this new tool that's
Adam?
called, yeah.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but we're not seeing your, we're seeing 2 slides.
Oh,
I don't think we have you in full present mode.
all right. This is the same screen I shared before, so I'm not
Okay.
sure.
It worked before.
It did. Let me try this. How about now?
Perfect. Perfect. Thank
Excellent.
you.
No problem. Thank you. I see both screens, so I didn't know. Excellent. So again, as I was saying, we're always challenged with getting the word out. And so around this time last year, we started embarking on a new outreach initiative, which we're calling the Recyclingpedia. And so this is a great tool that we've been working with a private company to develop as their first statewide model. And so, as we hear, some of the common things that come up when we're educating on recycling are pictured here on the screen. So what we do here at DENREC, because Delaware is a small state, we are able to consolidate our education. We decided that the Recyclingpedia was going to be a great way to centralize everything and just do one place for people to go. And so as part of that, as you can see on the screen, we highlighted everything. And what we wound up doing is color coding all of our different various tools, and sort of setting this up in such a way that it was really easy for people to use. And as you can see, the tagline is what to do with it when you're done with it. And one of the main benefits to the Recyclingpedia backbone, the program that runs it, is that it's what they call responsive web technology. So regardless of the device that somebody's using, it can be seen. And what makes that really interesting is that it will sense your location. So whether you're sitting on a computer or on a mobile device, you can get your location found and then figure out what you can do with that thing that you don't want to deal with anymore. And so it moves with you and always is there for what you need. And as I alluded to before, one of the things that we find is that people need good direction and clear guidance. And so I mentioned before that everything we did is color coded. So green is acceptable for our curbside program. Yellow is a drop-off item. So it's a drop-off recycling program, not necessarily a curbside program for those things that can be recycled, just not at your house. Then we have household hazardous waste. Obviously the things we don't want, so the trash, and then yard waste, because those are the big categories that we get calls on and that we are always being asked questions about. And so one of the things that we did when we launched was we really tried to be comprehensive. And so we went back and looked at all of our data. And when we launched, we had over 200 items that were sort of in these 5 categories that were those things that we had gotten either questions on, phone calls, social media questions through our Facebook channel, either through the Denrick Facebook channel or a Delaware Recycles channel, emails, or just, things that came up. And so it was really comprehensive when it lost. And, one of the big things that we realize, anyone in the public education space realizes you have very limited attention, right? So somebody's going to come, they want the information front and center, and they move on. And so again, we worked with the vendor to really design this so that you come to an entry. So in this case, plastic bags, right? Because this is one of our big programs here in Delaware, right? It's very clear. You can't put this in your recycling cart or your dumpster. You can only recycle them by taking them back to a store in Delaware, because we have an at-store recycling program requirement in the state as part of our bag ban. And then we do little tips. So reduce your waste by not using a plastic bag and bring back your bags. So again, we tried to keep it really concise, really easy, and really simple for people. And to that end, if you notice, every entry has two pieces, right? There's the information piece, which is that short, here's what you do with it, here's how you deal with it. And then there's the solutions tab. And so this is what makes the Recyclingpedia really neat, because it is location driven. Once it either senses the location on your mobile device or it identifies the location on your desktop computer, it will show you all of the available solutions, and you have a control bar. So you can actually, if you don't want to go more than 5 miles away, you can shrink that down or expand it out. So that way you're not traveling very far to get to that solution. And that was really important to us, because one of the things that we found in Delaware, and I'm sure a lot of other people go through this as well, people don't want to go far, even though our state is very small. And I've worked in places that were bigger than the entire state of Delaware, and we had to drive a really long way to get rid of stuff, and people did it without a problem. That's not how it works here. So people don't want to go far. So we really, again, tailored this to be very much audience driven, so that way we could make sure that our residents could find what they needed when they needed it. This is still in beta testing for us, so we've not really put a whole lot of marketing money behind it, but as you can see, we launched it right as part of our first Earth Day activities. So we launched it to the public on April 5th. And, over the course of the last several months, we've had pretty good response, given that we haven't advertised it. I mean, the only way this comes up is if somebody goes to our website, through our social media posts, through a press release, and through one article that we paid to get published in our local newspaper. So again, very limited key audience, or key marketing pieces to put it out there, but over a really good reaction. And so we're excited, and we're really looking forward to being able to put some marketing dollars behind it to really see how well this can go in the state. And, kind of as we alluded to, one of the impetus, one of the main reasons that the Recyclingpedia was launched was because, for those who don't know, in 2019, Delaware banned plastic carryout bags. So this was the first phase of our carryout bag ban. And that went into effect January 1st of this year. And one of the biggest things we heard going into the management of the program was, well, where do I get rid of my bags? These places don't have at-store recycling programs. Again, part of our law required that those stores that still used reusable plastic film bags maintain an at-store recycling program. So throughout the end of last year and into this year, we've worked with our retail network, and happy to report that we've also been very, very compliant, positive. We've had no instances where people haven't complied with our bag ban. And again, all of the locations which didn't have a recycling program now have a recycling program. So that was one of the main reasons, or the main info points that we had in the Recyclingpedia when it launched, was being able to allow all of our residents to recycle their plastic bags. As an update, we just amended our law, and as of July 1st of 2022, we will be completely phasing out film bags altogether. And I don't know if you see over the back of my shoulder are Delaware Recycles reusable bags, but it'll be reusable bags, and paper bags will be the only bags available in the state of Delaware as of July 1st of next year. So we're really excited about the fact that the legislation has hopefully successfully removed the majority of this particular piece of marine debris, at least from a generation point within the state of Delaware. You know, obviously, we have a lot of people coming into our state, and you know, water comes from everywhere, and so things will still wind up on our beaches, but we're hopeful that we will be able to drastically reduce the number of Delaware generated bags that wind up in the environment. So again, we're real excited about the Recyclingpedia because it has a lot of flexibility for us to be able to do more of this kind of stuff as our programs develop. So that's really it for me. And again, looking forward to any questions that folks might have when we get to the Q&A section.
Thank
So
you so much, Adam.
thanks.
That's a really cool program. It's great to hear about that. Thanks for all your work on that. And just reminding people to put your questions in the Q&A box. We do have some in there right now for Donna, so queue up some for Adam. And we're going to move right now then to our next speakers, who are Amy Bloomfield and Kayla Montani. They're both environmental program specialists for the Bureau of Waste Reduction and Recycling, Division of Materials Management at the New York Department of Environmental Conservation. And they'll be speaking about New York's initiatives on foam packaging and plastic bags. And a little background, Amy, her background is in natural resource conservation and management and wildlife conservation. She works on waste reduction and recycling outreach and education, contamination reduction in the recycling stream, implementation of materials management laws and policies in New York State, materials reuse, plastic pollution prevention, and climate change mitigation through sustainable materials management. And then Kayla has been with New York State Department of Environmental Conservation for 5 years and has spent that time within the Division of Materials Management's Bureau of Waste Reduction and Recycling. And Kayla is the main contact for New York State's bag waste reduction law, and her work focuses on technical assistance, outreach, and education. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the two of them, and thank you both. And I see your slide looks up and it looks beautiful, so full speed ahead.
Well, thank you so much, Laura, and we're honored to be here. And today, Kayla and I will be talking about New York State initiatives helping to reduce plastic pollution. And so first we'll cover a little bit about New York State's foam ban, and then the New York State bag waste reduction law, and then we'll cover a couple additional initiatives. So we'll start by talking about the foam ban. And before we get started, I just wanted to talk really quick about foam litter. And there are a lot of data available showing that foam and foam packaging specifically are one of the top contributors of litter in the environment. And then we see examples like from San Jose, California, where they were able to do litter surveys before and after their foam ban went into effect, and they were able to show a 73% reduction in the amount of foam food serviceware litter in stormwater after their ban went into effect. So we know these materials are problematic, and we also know that banning them is effective at preventing litter. So a little background about the expanded polystyrene foam container and loose fill packaging ban. Governor Cuomo signed the legislation in April of 2020, and the ban goes into effect this January 1st, 2022. And essentially what the law says is that no covered food service provider or store will be allowed to sell, offer for sale, or distribute disposable food service containers that contain expanded polystyrene foam in New York State. And the law is, when it comes to containers, very focused on prepared food and beverages. And in addition, no manufacturer or store will be allowed to sell, offer for sale, or distribute polystyrene loose fill packaging that we commonly refer to as packing peanuts in New York State. And there are some exemptions to the law, such as for raw meat, pork, seafood, poultry, and fish, some prepackaged items, and also the law does not cover hard plastic, rigid number 6 polystyrene containers. So it's only covering the foamed polystyrene items. And there is a hardship waiver component to New York State's ban. And so essentially small businesses, small non-franchise businesses and community meal programs will be able to apply for a renewable 12-month hardship waiver. And because everyone who's affected by this law will no longer be able to use foam containers, our staff are working on alternatives guidance. So we're working on guidance as far as what containers people can use. And we are working to encourage reusable, recyclable, and compostable options. And so if you want to stay up to date, you can visit our website, sign up for our listserv, or send us an email, and we'll have that contact information on the last slide at the end of the presentation. And I'll turn it over to Kayla to talk about New York State's bag waste reduction law.
Thank you, Amy. So the New York State Bag Waste Reduction Law, it took effect March 1st of 2020, and we have banned plastic carryout bags. So the law prohibits the distribution of plastic carryout bags, and any person required to collect New York State sales tax is no longer able to distribute plastic carryout bags. And a plastic carryout bag is essentially any plastic bag other than an exempt bag. And some of the exemptions include things that you see in other state plastic bag legislation. Some of the exemptions include bags for raw meat, fish, and seafood, produce bags, over-the-hanger garment bags, things like that. And so our law keeps the requirements for certain stores to continue to collect film plastics from consumers for recycling. So those things like your napkin and paper towel over wraps, any types of, again, over the hanger garment bags, bread bags, of course, free of debris and any crumbs. And then there is no requirement in the law for stores to have paper carryout bags. I put that in because we do receive quite a few questions on that. So no requirement for stores to have paper carryout bags. And unlike other locations, we actually do not have a statewide paper bag fee. What we have is an opt-in. So cities and counties can opt in to a 5-cent paper carryout bag reduction fee. And along with our legislation, we have some corresponding regulations. So these regulations cover, of course, the ban on plastic carryout bags, allowable reusable bags, and the film plastic recycling requirements. And I should also mention that pursuant to a court decision back in August, certain provisions of the regulations were declared to be invalid. That includes a portion of the regulations that allowed a reusable bag to be considered an exempt bag, and then a couple portions of the reusable bag definition that were in the regulations. So what is considered a reusable bag? So a reusable bag is a non-plastic bag that is made of cloth or other machine washable fabric or other durable material with handles that is specifically designed and manufactured for multiple reuse. And we also have other strength and durability requirements, as you can see, and those are similar to what California put in place with theirs as well. And so our law does include penalties for violations. So the legislation includes that a warning notice must be provided for the first violation. So first violation is a written warning notice. A second violation is a $250 penalty. And then a third violation is a $500 penalty, or I'm sorry, I should say civil penalty for these. And then for the purposes of these violations, each transaction constitutes a violation. And with our plastic bag ban, or I should say the New York State Bag Waste Reduction Law, because of course includes the bag ban and the opt-in paper bag fee, we had an outreach and education campaign prior to implementation of the ban, leading up to it, and of course around the implementation time. And these outreach and education materials are available on our website. And one of the things that we did was we made sure that these were available in multiple languages. And so please feel free to access these on our website if they're of interest to anyone. And in addition to the foam ban that Amy talked about and the plastic bag ban, we also have some additional initiatives that we're working on. So we currently have a couple of university partnerships. Right now, one of them is we're working with SUNY Environmental Science and Forestry. We have a memorandum of understanding agreement with them, an MOU agreement, and they're working on enhancing recycling, waste prevention and reduction measures, some stakeholder engagement, community outreach, and public education campaign initiatives. And then we have another one with the University at Buffalo, and they're doing some plastics work and looking also at exploring single-use plastics alternatives.
And in addition, we're also working on our 10-year state waste plan, and we're integrating goals and recommendations regarding plastic pollution and marine debris into the plan. We had some public meetings about the plan and got a lot of comments in support of marine debris solutions. And New York State Department of Environmental Conservation also partners with the Leave No Trace organization. So we work to distribute educational materials that prevent littering on public lands. And thank you so much. And we're looking forward to the Q&A.
That's terrific. Thank you both so much. Boy, with all these great laws and programs in place, you'd think we wouldn't have any problems, but somehow we still do. I know we've got a lot of questions in the chat, so I'd like to invite Donna and Adam to turn their cameras back on, and we will try to plow through these questions. Scroll back up to they're kind of in different orders, bouncing back and forth amongst you. Are you able to turn your camera on too, Adam?
It should be on.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's me not scrolling down. I see you.
No worries.
Great. So, okay, Bridget is asking, this is for Donna on the boat shrink wrap. Could that process be used for similarly flimsy plastics like those used for cooking and baking?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, there are other industries that do similar work. I know agriculture industries, not in Maryland. I've tried to tee this up for our partners with the Maryland Farm Bureau, but they did not jump right on it. But yeah, there are other states where I know that agriculture is involved.
Great. And also for you, Donna, what are the chances that boat wrap recycling legislation could be a thing?
Well, I don't work for the legislative branch, but you never know. Every year, there are new bills that appear related to plastics, that related to marine debris reduction. And honestly, I would say, it's probably a matter of time, but I would certainly hope that they would recognize that this has been an industry-led effort to handle the problem anyway. So hopefully they would involve industry closely when and if that were to happen.
Yeah. Well, it is always nice when people do it on their own, not have to have legislation, but sometimes you need belts and suspenders. Let's see. And that was from Clean Fairfax. Thanks for those questions. And then Catherine is asking Adam, thanks for the Recyclingpedia. Do you have any data on what items are most frequently looked up? She's curious to know what the public has the most questions about.
So yeah, there's actually a very robust reporting backbone to the system. I just looked, and we don't accept the refrigerated or freezer packages in our universal recycling program. So that is the #1 looked up item for this period, followed by aerosol cans and yard waste. But the other cool thing about it is they have something called a gap analysis, which tracks what people type into the search bar. So what that can allow anyone who uses this type of tool to do is figure out, are they using the right terms? What are people searching for versus how do we put it in as a listing? So that way we can go back and adjust to make sure that people are finding what they want.
Great, and maybe that partially answers, I think this is Swarna's question, how often Recyclingpedia is updated, because New Jersey has an app, but sometimes the info is not accurate.
Yeah, so we control it, so it's instant. Once we hit the save button, it's updated. And the way that our interface is going to work, we opted not to do an app, but we are developing a widget which is going to be able to be distributed to all our municipalities, to libraries, whomever, which will tie it back to the central location. So we only have to update it once, and
Oh,
it's
good.
updated statewide.
That's great.
Yeah.
Let's see, flipping to Amy and Kayla for a moment, does the money collected from the optional bag fee go towards any type of environmental conservation? Question from Hannah.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So the purpose of the bag fee is for, so basically there's a reimbursement structure. So 40% of the fees go back to the enacting counties and cities and counties that have opted into those 5-cent paper carryout bag reduction fees. So 40% of the fees are remitted back to those cities and counties through the state comptroller's office. And those the money is, as per the legislation, the money is required to be used for the purchase and distribution of reusable bags, with priority given to low and fixed income communities. So what happens is cities and counties, they remit the money they collect to the New York State Department of Tax and Finance, and then it is actually circles back to the counties through the state comptroller's office. So again, they receive 40% back for the purposes I mentioned. The other 60% goes to the State Environmental Protection Fund. So those are used for environmental purposes as well.
Great. Gosh, we have so many questions. We have some pre-written ones too from the registration form that I'll try to get to, but so I appreciate your quick answers. Vicky is asking, and this is for Donna, have you made an effort to garner boater, boat club, yacht club, and other stakeholder support to discontinue the use of shrink wrap and or proper disposal?
Yes, absolutely. We view it as two sides of the same coin. The recycling is one aspect of it, but we are trying hard to get people to stop opting for it because it is a consumer choice. So we have started, and our last year was our first, but we'll really expand it this year, a campaign called Think Before You Shrink. And we're doing that across the state and in partnership with Boat US Foundation, which is actually a national organization. So hopefully this will actually get rolled out through their channels across the US.
Great. Let's see. Clean Fairfax is asking, saying, so plastic bags are banned in New York, yay, but paper bags are not. So stores can give out paper bags and they can opt into a pay per use for that, but they don't have to, question mark. So does that mean folks on SNAP can use their own bags or use paper without being charged? Does he have that correct?
That's correct. Yep. So if a city or county opts into the 5-cent paper carryout bag reduction fee, it is a non-taxable fee, and SNAP and WIC recipients are also exempt from that. So, cities and counties do not have to opt in. It's optional. I should also mention that retailers, of course, whether they're in an opt-in area or not, they can charge their own fee for paper bags.
Great. Thank you. Another one for Adam. Sarah's asking, what is the backbone platform for Recyclingpedia? Recollect?
It is not Recollect. We actually went with a company called I Waste Not Systems. This was a proprietary product that they developed. And so they have, it's mostly being used in Canada. We're one of the first major users of the Recyclingpedia in the United States. So we're sort of their test for the US market.
Cool. All right, keep an eye on that. Also, Adam, Bridget thinks you touched on this, but do any other states have similar recyclopedias? And I think we heard New Jersey does from Swarna.
So there are a lot of other state level information portals or apps in the case of New Jersey. So it's not unique in that. I think what is unique is how it's structured so that it is going back to a single location that we manage as the state, right? Because we're a little different in that Delaware manages education at the state level for recycling because we don't have local programs, we have a state law. So it just made sense for us to focus on it from this perspective. So I would say, yes, there are probably other state recyclopedias out there, but I'm not sure how widely used they are just because of the differences in local availability of markets throughout bigger states that don't have a statewide control, if you will.
Thanks, Adam. And I think Swarna says New Jersey has Recycle Coach. But
And
good.
it has a recyclopedia as well.
Oh, okay, great.
You can
Great.
find it at recyclerightny.org.
Oh, excellent.
Excellent. Well, I don't think we have one in Virginia, so we'll need to get going on that. Okay, last one, and then I'm going to switch to what we got in the registration forms. And so this one is back to Donna. Sean says we need to incentivize a permanent boat cover purchase, like a discount or funded rebate, if each boater purchases a reusable cover in an effort to avoid the plastic wrap. So more of a comment than a question, but I don't know if you've heard any movement on that, Donna.
Yeah, I would say there's really no need to incentivize it. It's really the incentive exists in the economics. It's a matter of educating the boaters about that. And it is part of our Think Before You Shrink campaign, which is to let them know that a reusable, a semi-custom, not a fully custom, but a semi-custom reusable boat cover for, especially for boats under 35 feet, will pay for is the cost of shrink wrapping 2 or 3 times, if that. So the economics are there. That cover will last 10 years. And we did a lot of survey work about attitudes. And so we've structured our messaging to reflect that, that the boaters may not realize that, or they think that they're only custom or they're only very expensive. And so we're just trying to let them know what their options are. And we're going to be doing a lot more this year.
Great. Good answers. All right, so we have 4 questions that we pulled out from the registration forms that are all really good. And I think they're ones anyone can jump in and answer. But the first one is, are there opportunities for regional collaborations that would help advance any of these programs that you each have mentioned?
So I'll jump in real quick. I actually have recently taken on Clean Marinas as a program under my program, and I did reach out to Chesapeake Materials to see if we could also do a similar program to what Donna was describing in Delaware, since Chesapeake isn't that far from us. So we're still working with them on the availability for that. But I would say absolutely, especially for a harder to recycle item, if there is a market that is hungry for that material in a region, that it makes sense and we can support it and stabilize that market, totally ripe for collaboration.
And we were contacted by a company called Poly. Did I get that right, Donna? And they are very interested and hungry for that material. And Donna explained their program in Maryland to them, and our Virginia Sea Grant people were interested in doing it. So we need to all get together in the Mid-Atlantic and see, maybe we can all participate in this boat shrink wrap effort. That would be terrific. Okay, second question was, for states with plastic bags or other materials bans, how are you measuring the success of the legislation?
So I can jump in for that one. For the New York State Bag Waste Reduction Law, it did not include a requirement in the legislation for a pre and post ban study. However, we do know that prior to the legislation taking effect, there were about 23 billion plastic bags being used in New York State every single year. And right now, As I said, the ban took effect last year, and due to the litigation, we actually had delayed enforcement. We had to delay it until last October. But, as of now, we are seeing really, pretty good compliance across the state. So I think it'll take some time to get some numbers in due to the delayed enforcement, but just based on, the compliance we're seeing, we are seeing, good overall compliance in most areas. So that's very promising.
That's good. Thanks, Kayla. It is 2:40, but maybe we'll squeeze in one more quick question with quick answers. Does anybody have a great lesson learned that you'd like to share with the other states in your goals to advance policies and programs related to marine debris? Any key thing that you feel like really helps make something successful?
I'm always a huge advocate of collaboration. I know we talked about collaboration a little bit. A specific success story, we realized that we could collaborate within our own organization. We started realizing staff who work in water and fish and wildlife and marine resources and educators started realizing that everyone is invested in this question of how to prevent plastic pollution and marine debris. So we collaborated within our own organization, specifically on the topic of balloons recently. And we promoted some educational materials during Plastic Free July. The DEC promotes Plastic Free July, and we kind of asked the public to send us pictures of balloons and engage with social media and also our own staff. And we got an incredible response, just tons of pictures getting sent to us of animals and wildlife affected by balloons and balloon litter. The media got a hold of all of the attention that was created on this topic, and there's just a lot of engagement. So I think collaboration and also engaging with the public will help us all kind of figure out what's important to people and gain support.
Yep. All good. And we're going to hear more about balloon releases later on during the summit. And I'm seeing Tom Spray saying economics of clean water makes a lot of sense. Probably focusing on how reducing marine debris helps us economically in many respects too, as well as in health. Well, we probably should wrap it up. It's 2:42. I went 2 minutes over, but I thank you all so very much. Thank you so much for all the great work you're doing. And we will take a break now, and we're going to come back at, I think we're going to put that slide up next. It's a 20-minute break, come back at 3 o'clock, but we have some, speaking of balloons, we're going to show some videos that the Virginia CZM program put together. And my thanks to Virginia Whitmer on my staff and Katie Register, who worked hard on these. And one of them's in English, one of them's in Spanish. So being sensitive to the need to be multilingual, working on that. And you'll see also at the end of the, toward the break, a website that we produced on preventballoonlitter.org. So with that, everyone have a lovely break, and we'll see you all back at 3 o'clock.